All right, Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS who as well. Peace and salutations to the elect. My name is Ainal. The title of this video is named Bastard Shall Dwell in Ashdod, right? And that's over there in the land of Israel. And basically, shameful spewing is being put on. I got this.
Gaza need to know that it's the beginning. People in Gaza.
All right, so shameful spewing is being put on Israel. The nations are figuring out that they're liars. So anyway, this is the video from TikTok. I'll like dim the screen so it's probably better to see. I'll just play it, listen to it.
Need to know that it's the beginning of the end of the Zionist state. Okay. The Zionist state will not survive. To stay in the same place, they have to kill and kill and kill. That's the only thing they know how to do. And that's not a surviving strategy. And that's not a winning PR strategy for the world. And the more people who wake up, and certainly tens of millions of more people have woken up to the truth, to the barbaric nature of what Zionism is and what Israel really represents, there's no going back for them. So for decades, pro-Palestine advocates have been on the defense to explain why defense of Palestine, why advocacy for Palestinian liberation is not anti-Semitic, why criticizing Israel is not anti-Semitic. That is no longer the case. Zionists are on the defense now, explaining why they support apartheid and genocide. They're no longer going to be allowed in the same spaces as progressives. The whole idea of progressive except for Palestine is no longer real. You are no longer going to be seen as progressive or liberal if you are Zionist. It is a racist, colonial, genocidal ideology, and it has been exposed. And at this point, anyone with a shred of humanity is on the side of Palestinians. And that's the hope we have to hang our hats on. That's the hope that we have to keep striving for. And that's what gives me optimism, because I see the truth. I see the world waking up. I see the mass movements in the streets. Apartheid can't stand. We can't justify apartheid. Yeah. We can't justify genocide. And those crimes need to be held accountable and they need to be stopped. And Israel Israel has put itself on the defense for its whole existence. I mean, that's why it's survived and thrived, because it's inverted reality. It's flipped reality on its head, and it's invested tens of billions of dollars into controlling the narrative in the West. But we see Palestinians dictating their own reality for the first time with social media. And those lies don't hold anymore because we see the truth. Just unfettered truth. You just open your phones and you see with your own eyes.
Hey, so the truth is out there, So let me grab this. All right. It says Ecclesiasticus chapter 10, verse 8, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another, right? And that's pretty much what's happening. Why? Because the scriptures say that Jerusalem will be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled, and that's where we're at. We have Luke 21:24. It says, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So what? The Israelites are not in their proper authority seat, right? We're under subjection to our enemies, Esau, Edom, right? And in his kingdom, he has set up the state of Israel, going back to 1948, when that thing was established over there. And now what you have is a vile person. Let me see. Let me grab that. So this Isaiah 32:5. Right. So you have this individual, the wicked, over there in the land of Jerusalem now, right? And he's being found out. Shameful spewing is being put on the glory of Esau, Edom, right? And Amalek. Isaiah 32:5. See, the nations are figuring that out now. It says, Isaiah 32:5, it says, the vile person shall no more be called liberal, nor the churl said to be bountiful. For the vile person will speak villainy, and his heart will work iniquity, to practice hypocrisy, and to utter error against the Lord Yahweh, to make empty the souls of the hungry, and he will cause the drink of the thirsty to fail. So who is that? Who's doing that right now? That's Esau Edom. You know, the JOOs over in the land of Israel. Grab this in the NLT. Isaiah 32:5, it says, in that day ungodly fools will not be heroes, scoundrels will not be respected. For fools speak foolishness, right, and make evil plans, right? That greater Israel plan, and that's all you have was brewing over there in the land of Israel. You got again Turkey now, you know, entering into the battle pursuant to Ezekiel chapter 38, because Israel is Israel's greater Israel plan, involves all of the surrounding nations around it, and just like the lady was saying, to keep the position that they have been in war. Even America, since America's, basically the founding of America, they have been at war. You would say 99% of the time, 90% of the time, whatever the case may be, they just always been at war. So the same thing is for Israel, the little brother of America, pretty much, right? Israel has been always at war because, for one, they're not the people, and no one wants them there, basically, so they have to fight to defend their position. And that's what the scriptures say, pursuant to Genesis, let me see, I believe it's Genesis 27. Right. So it's Genesis 27:40. So the Esau's blessing is what? It says, and by thy sword thou shalt live, and serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass when thou shalt have, well, I'll start at 39. Genesis 27:39, it says, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. So this is Esau's blessing, right? To have the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. It says, and by the sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Right. And so what? Esau now has the dominion in the world, right? He has his satellites up there in space, pretty much, and he's living by the sword. And that's even showed today, as Esau, gets ready for this World War III event, because, Israel is drawing them out for the war, so they're setting up shipments of weapons, putting it out there over towards the Middle East, where the World War III will be taking place. So going back over here to Isaiah 32, this vile person, over there in the land of Israel, Esau, Edom. In that day, Isaiah 32:5 in the NLT, in that day, ungodly fools will not be heroes, scoundrels will not be respected. And so what? So pretty much everyone always looked to America, as, the moral individuals of the world. But now America is what? In bed with Israel, pretty much. And it has always been that. It has always been that way, but now it's been found out. Even going back to, America trying to, go back to the files of, JFK and things like that. Israel is plastered all over that, So it's been found out. It says, for fools speak foolishness and make evil plans. They practice ungodliness and spread false teachings about the Lord Yahweh. They deprive the hungry of food and give no water to the thirsty. And that's Israel, what? Stopping that aid. Right. And that's why you have what's happening over there with the Straits, right? That's now being blocked off. So Israel can't get their whatever they need over there, because the nations are realizing that these are devils, right? So the smooth tricks of scoundrels are evil. They plot crooked schemes. They lie to convict the poor, even when the cause of the poor is just. And that ceasefire that they had to take the land of Syria is what they did. They stopped fighting with Lebanon. They paused that, and then immediately after pausing that, they went into Syria and overtook that with America's help. And now it's backfiring on them because Turkey is looking at that land for himself, right? So now Israel has another problem. Now it's Lebanon. Now it's Turkey. Now it's Syria. Now it's Iran. Now it's the Houthis, Yemen. So they're surrounded. Zechariah 9:6, it says, "And a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, and I will cut off the pride of the Philistines." So a bastard shall dwell in the land of Ashdod, and that's you just don't know what to say. You want to say Israel, you want to say JOOs. It's so sensitive to them because this information, is something they pay billions to try to hide. A bastard shall dwell in Ashdod. Bastard, child of incest, illegitimate child. Yeah. And these are Jewish, pertaining to, not the actual Jews. They're illegitimate individuals dwelling in that land, and they're being found out. This is Revelations 3:9. It says, "Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee." See, so what? Just like I read here in 8, it says, Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 8, "Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another." Right. And that goes completely into what Esau Edom is about, the sword, dealing unjustly, being vile, stopping aid, destroying nations around about you. And that's pretty much what's happening. So I got this article over here from Wikipedia, and it goes into members of, the nations that hate, I would say hate or dislike, whatever the case may be, Israel. Pretty much. It says, as of December 2020, 165 of the 193 total member states of the United Nations recognize Israel. It says 28 UN member states do not recognize Israel. 15 of the Arab leagues, right? And then it lists these individuals. And as you can see, it says this is Israel. So this is Israel. It's a bad map, but we get it. And this number has grown. They said as of 2020, and this is just not publicly speaking, as in some people just, they're not saying nothing about it. But as you can see, everyone around Israel is like, no, Israel does not belong here. It says countries that reject passports from Israel, countries that reject passports from Israel and any other passport that contains Israeli stamps or visas. So they don't really like Israel. They know the people there are bastards, right? They don't really belong in that land. It's been found out. So I'll read some of these. We got Iraq, Lebanon, Libya, Oman, Saudi Arabia, Somalia, Syria, of course, Yemen. Right. So that's shameful spilling on their glory there. Let me get this Ezekiel 36. It says, Ezekiel 36:1, "Also thou son of man, prophesy unto the mountains of Israel, and say, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord Yahweh. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh power, because the enemy have said against you, aha, even the ancient high places are ours in possession." Right. So this is what Esau Edom, said to the Israelites, pretty much, and to the Lord. It says, "Therefore prophesy and say, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, because they have made you desolate and swallow you up on every side, that you might be a possession unto the residue of the heathen, and ye are taken up in the lips of talkers, and are an infamy of the people." Right. So they're against us. We're they're talking about us, right? They hate us, and we're in possession to them right now, because we're still in slavery. It's not hard for bondage right now, but we're still subject to these devils. We have a birth certificate, meaning we're owned by them. We're subject to payments. We still go to our enemies and want of all things. Even if you're starting a business, you got to buy the building or whatever, the products. You need a loan. Ezekiel 36:4. Therefore, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord Yahweh. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh to the mountains, and to the hills, and to the rivers, and to the valleys, to the desolate wastes, and to the cities that are forsaken, which became a prey and derision to the residue of the heathen that are round about. So what is that? They're, just like this lady said in the video, they have always been at war, to keep their position. Let's get that word derision. Confusion. Let me see. It says mocking, derision, stammering, mockery, All right. Again, Ezekiel 36:4. Therefore, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord Yahweh. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh to the mountains, and to the hills, and to the rivers, and to the valleys, and desolate wastes, and to the cities that are forsaken, which became a prey and derision to the residue of the heathen that round about. Right. So even what became a prey because they overtook it, they're mocking it, and it goes into that right here too. Again, it says that ye might be a possession unto the residue of the heathen, and that you are taken up in the lips of talkers. Right? That's mocking and are an infamy of the people. So anyway, the latter end of verse 4, it says, which became a prey and derision to the residue of the heathen that are round about. Verse 5, therefore thus saith the Lord Yahweh, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea, right? Which have appointed my land into their possession, with the joy of all their heart, with the spiteful minds to cast it out for a prey. That's exactly what they did. And it's in the prophecy that these devils took over the land. And now they're being found out to be illegitimate, all the nations round about, and even in the news, which I try to look it up, it's kind of hard to find these things since they censor it. They got the AI now, keywords and things like that. You got to really dig to find these videos against them. But hey, it's all over. People has recorded them, and Lord willing, eventually I'll see a video that I can save, and it'll come out in the future again, It says, prophecy therefore concerning the land of Israel, and say unto the mountains, and to the hills, and to the rivers, and to the valleys, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I have spoken in my jealousy and in my fury, because ye have borne the shame of the heathen. Right. So, our land has borne the shame of the heathen. Pretty much, they got something called Pink City over there. It's very defiled over there. They allow the LGBTQ. They got kosher pig, which is eating swine is abomination to the real Jews. They're fake Jews. All right. It says, therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, I have lifted up mine hand, surely the heathen that are about you, they shall bear their shame. So that's exactly what's happening, right? They've been found out to be wicked, vile. They're against the people, right? So the world is seeing that. That's shameful spewing. And we can grab this. Let me grab this one real quick. Yeah, NLT. Isaiah 47:1, it says, come down, virgin daughter of Babylon, and sit in the dust, for your days of sitting on a throne have ended. See? O daughter of Babylonia, never again will you be the lovely princess, tender and delicate. And why? Why is that? Because once again, the least of the flock is going to draw out Babylon and Greek. And that's exactly what's happening. Like I mentioned, and I guess I'll play a little snippet real quick, is what? Enter Turkey. Enter Turkey.
Hello, I'm CJ Werleman, and in this episode, we reveal how Turkey is on the verge of unleashing hell against the Zionist state of Israel. But first, please remember to like and subscribe to our show. Now let's get into it. During the past week, a major news development was deliberately ignored by the Western media, for the simple reason it speaks to Israel's growing weakness in the Middle East. And the word weakness can't be emphasized enough here, given the Zionist-controlled media wants you to believe the opposite is true. That Israel is growing stronger, having completely destroyed Gaza, having pulverized Hezbollah, and having totally neutered the Iranian regime. But this perception of Israeli strength and dominance is nothing more than a carefully manufactured illusion, and you don't need to take my word for it. Instead, focus your attention on the actions of the Israeli government, which convened an extraordinary security consultation on March 25th, over fears that Turkey is mobilizing its forces to confront the Zionist state, and soon. These growing Israeli fears and tears come on the back of a report produced by an Israeli government panel on January 7, which concluded that Turkey now represents a bigger threat than Iran. The report cites Israel's growing concerns towards the new Syrian government, which it fears will inspire, unify, and mobilize Islamist forces and factions throughout the Middle East. These fears are exponentially heightened by the presence of Turkish forces in Syria, with Israeli security officials worried the Arab nation will become a Turkish proxy and an essential part of Turkey's ambition to restore the Ottoman Empire to its former glory. Well, on March 24th, Israel's worst nightmare came to fruition when the new Syrian government granted Turkey a sovereign military base in Palmyra, which will be as large as the United States Air Base in Ramstein, Germany, making Turkey's future air base in Syria the largest military air base in the entire world. Also, Turkey has agreed to train and arm the Syrian army, saying that any attack against its forces or assets will be met with overwhelming force. A threat that carries a big punch, given we are talking about the strongest military in the Middle East, parking itself on Syrian soil and along Israel's border.
Another day, another foreign leader threatening Israel.
We need to be very strong so that Israel cannot do these ridiculous things to Palestine. Just as we entered Karabakh, just as we entered Libya, we can do something similar to them.
These headlines speak to Israel's growing fears and paranoia towards Turkey's growing foothold in neighboring Syria. The Times of Israel says Turkey must be stopped, as other Zionist outlets hype up the jihadist threat in Syria, while some encourage Israel to build an alliance with Kurdish forces. On Sunday, the Israeli newspaper Ynet News said, Turkey is not Iran, neither in isolation, economy, or influence. It is a dynamic regional power with one foot in the West, major leverage over Europe, and a growing strategic footprint across the East. Make no mistake, this is Israel watching the walls close in. And for this reason, the Israeli military has told Netanyahu to prepare for war against the Muslim superpower.
In Israel, a government commission headed by former Security Council Chief Jacob Nagel has released a report on the defense budget and security strategy. It says the country needs to prepare for a possible future confrontation with Turkey. The Jerusalem...
Right, so it's all good news here, right? Because this is the downfall of our enemies. And this is a trap and a snare against Esau Edom. Isaiah 47:1, it says, Come down, virgin daughter of Babylon, and sit in the dust, for your days of sitting on a throne have ended. O daughter of Babylonia, never again will be the lovely princess, tender and delicate. Now, and it's, you don't need, a rocket scientist to help you understand that America backs Israel, obviously, and that's what we have today. So I grab, let me see. All right, this is Jeremiah 50:45. It says, Therefore hear ye the counsel of the Lord Yahweh that he have taken against Babylon, and his purposes that he have proposed against the land of Chaldeans. And going up basically is total destruction, annihilation, obliteration, and never to be inhabited again, which is Babylon. But it says, Therefore hear ye the counsel of the Lord Yahweh that he have taken against Babylon, and his purposes that he have proposed against the land of the Chaldeans. It says, Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out, surely he shall make the habitation desolate with them. And least of the flock is talking about the 1948ers, right? The last setup of the American Empire, right? These JOOs. And now I just showed you the video where they have another huge major problem over in the Middle East. And we're not surprised, but now Turkey is entering into the battle. And pursuant to Ezekiel 38, Turkey will be joined with Russia to take out America and Israel. So there you go. Prophecies is coming to pass, right? It says, take heavy, Isaiah 47:2, take heavy millstones and grind flour, remove your veil and strip off your robe, expose yourself to public view. You will be naked and burdened with shame. I will take vengeance against you without pity. Right? Our Redeemer, whose name is the Lord of heaven's armies, is the Holy One of Israel. O beautiful Babylon, sit now in darkness and silence. Never again will you be known as the Queen of Kingdoms. Right? And that's true. People are giving warnings about coming to America for vacation, flying to America. And it's probably because randomly all American planes only pretty much is what I've been seeing are falling out of the sky. So it says, for I was angry with my chosen people, probably Israel planes too. It says, for I was angry with my chosen people and punished them by letting them fall into your hands. But you, Babylon, showed them no mercy. You oppressed even the elderly. You said, I will reign forever as queen of the world. you did not reflect on your actions or think about their consequences. It says, listen to this, you pleasure-loving kingdom, living at ease and feeling secure. You say, I am the only one and there is no other. I will never be a widow or lose my children. Well, both these things will come upon you in a moment, widowhood and the loss of your children. Yes, these calamities will come upon you. Despite all your witchcraft and magic, you felt secure in your wickedness. No one sees me, you said, but your wisdom and knowledge have led you astray. And you said, I am the only one and there is no other. So disaster will overtake you and you won't be able to charm it away. Calamity will fall upon you and you won't be able to buy your way out. A catastrophe will strike you suddenly, one for which you are not prepared. See, so this whole situation is bad for Israel, and this is what's happening, and it's bad for America because they have Iran as a problem, right? And they have what now? Turkey as a problem, and they're already moving over to the Middle East. They're already sending their troops over there. They're already sending their equipment. So this is bad, right? Turkey is not one to back down, right? So this is that trouble, right? And it's no deal. Trump can't make a deal to buy it out, right? He already tried that. He tried to buy out Russia and the Ukraine situation. That didn't work. He tried to make a deal with Iran. That didn't work, And I guess he might try to make a deal with Turkey, but at this point, none of it is working, right? Scriptures say when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction shall come upon them, right? And that's what's going to happen. They're going to be destroyed. I'll just finish it off. Isaiah 47:12, it says, now use your magical charms, use the spells you have worked at all these years. Maybe they will do you some good. Maybe they can make someone afraid of you. All the advice you receive has made you tired. Where are all your astrologers, those stargazers who make predictions each month? Let them stand up and save you from what the future holds. But they are like straw burning in a fire. They cannot save themselves from the flame. You will get no help from them at all. Their hurt is no place to sit for warmth. And all your friends, those with whom you've done business since childhood, will go their own ways, turning a deaf ear to your cries, right? And that's true. Going to the book of Obadiah, his allies have deceived him. And just like this video said, Turkey has one foot in the West. That's an ally, but Turkey don't really care. All right, Turkey is prophesying the scriptures to decide with Russia. All right. This is Habakkuk, and I'll just start it from Habakkuk 2:1. It says, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I reprove. And the Lord Yahweh will answer me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. Right. And as we get closer, we're seeing that. Lord willing, I'll go into another video because, with the Jacob's trouble at the beginning stages, they're now making a point system, regarding those individuals being locked up, whether they're good or bad, pretty much, basically. And that point system will lead towards the type of point system that Israel has, the type of point system that China has regarding, who's good or bad, and that leads to the MOTB. So we're in those times. It says, behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Yeah, also because he transgresses by wine, he is a proud man, right? So he controls the laws, right, and the policies and things that he ish out, and that's how he transgressive by these things. And I think that's Proverbs 21. It says, this is not it. We do 10. It's probably Psalms. All right, let me find it. Psalm 94. This is one of them. Psalm 94 and 20. Yeah, so this okay, Psalms 94:20, it says, "Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by law?" Right. So they frame mischief by law. They write laws into, you know, wickedness. All right, Isaiah 10. Isaiah 10:1, it says, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and that write grievousness, which they have prescribed." And what is that? What's the prescribing? Those executive orders that's leading to the downfall of America, and the downfall of the people, right? That's why you have Job 20. In Job 20, it says that every hand of the wicked shall come upon Esau Edom, right? And the wicked is the laborers, the workers, the people, that Esau now is, basically firing from their jobs. So, yeah, also because Habakkuk 2:5, yeah, also because he transgresses by wine, he is a proud man. Now to keep it at home, who enlarges his desire as hell and is as death and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all people. It says, "Shall not all these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him and say, Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that layeth himself with thick clay, which is dead." Right. And the nations are now saying, how long is this going to continue where you try to get all this land, and greater Israel is probably the point where they're saying no more. And pretty much that's what they're saying. They're going for a two-state plan or two-state, they don't want the things that Israel is doing to continue. They're saying we're going to go to two-state plan, and you just stay where you at pretty much. That's what they're saying. That's what nations are saying. It says Habakkuk 2:15, "Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth thy bottle to him, and maketh him drunken also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness. It says, Thou art filled with shameful glory, drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord's right hand shall return unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory." Right? So Yahweh is putting shameful spewing on the glory of Esau Edom. Right? He used to be no more called tender and delicate lady of kingdoms. So hey, it's beautiful news. Lord willing, you were edified from the lesson. I'll say shalom to those elect, which consists of men, women, and children. Shalom.